Imagine hearing a motorcycle screaming toward you, but you can't see it yet. The sound gets closer, the engine climbs higher, and then a Honda Fireblade flashes past you. This isn't just another 1,000 cubic centimeter sport bike. This is the Honda CBR1000RR-R Fireblade SP, a machine built around a high-revving inline-four, race-inspired engineering, aerodynamic winglets, electronic suspension, and serious Brembo braking hardware. And here's what makes it interesting. While Ducati and BMW dominate the superbike conversation, Honda quietly built a machine that can stand right beside them. So why doesn't everyone talk about this Honda? The first thing you notice is the design. The Fireblade SP has a low, compact stance, a narrow front end, and bodywork that looks like it was shaped around the airflow. It doesn't need oversized styling to get attention. The proportions already tell you what this bike is about. The riding position is aggressive, the bodywork wraps tightly around the engine, and the entire motorcycle feels focused on the rider. Even standing still, it looks ready to move. But Honda didn't design it around appearance alone. The shape is part of the performance. The fairings manage airflow, the winglets are there for a reason, and the compact design helps keep the motorcycle feeling concentrated and controlled. Underneath the fairings is a 999 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline-four. The engine carries technology influenced by Honda's RC213V MotoGP development, giving the Fireblade a high-revving personality built around serious performance. Twist the throttle, and the response is immediate. The Fireblade builds speed rapidly, but the important part isn't just an acceleration number, it's the sensation. You're sitting directly on top of the motorcycle. You hear the engine, feel the wind, and feel the chassis moving underneath you. There is nothing insulating you from the experience, and this is where things get serious. A superbike isn't impressive simply because it can go fast in a straight line. The real challenge begins when the road starts turning. Imagine approaching a fast corner. You brake hard, weight moves forward, the suspension loads up, you release the brakes and turn in. Then, as the exit opens, you begin feeding the throttle back in. In just a few seconds, almost every system on the motorcycle has a job. The brakes need to slow you down predictably. The suspension needs to control weight transfer. The chassis needs to remain stable. The tires need to maintain grip. The electronics need to manage the engine. And the rider needs to make the right decisions. That's why the Fireblade SP is much more than an engine with two wheels. Honda equips it with advanced electronics designed to help manage power delivery, traction, wheelies, engine braking, and different riding situations. But don't think of these systems as a boring list of features. You're exiting a corner. The motorcycle is leaned over. You begin opening the throttle. The engine responds instantly, but the rear tire can only handle so much force. Electronic control can help manage how aggressively that power reaches the tire. And that's one of the biggest differences between a modern superbike and an older high-performance motorcycle. The technology works in the background while the rider remains connected to the machine. Now think about the brakes. A motorcycle that can accelerate this hard also needs serious stopping power. The Fireblade SP uses premium Brembo Stylema R front calipers and large dual discs, giving the rider hardware designed for hard braking. But powerful brakes aren't enough. What matters is control. You want strong initial braking, predictable feedback, and the ability to release the brakes smoothly as you turn. That's where the chassis, brakes, suspension, and tires start working as one system. The Fireblade SP also uses Öhlins Smart EC electronic suspension, including an Öhlins NPX front fork and electronic rear shock. The system can adjust damping behavior depending on what's happening and what settings the rider chooses. The suspension's job is to keep the motorcycle composed and predictable. Because when you're moving quickly, you don't want a motorcycle that constantly surprises you. You want one that communicates what the tires and chassis are doing. Then there's the aerodynamics. At normal road speeds, airflow doesn't seem like a major issue, but as speed rises, air becomes a serious force. The Fireblade's bodywork is designed to manage airflow around the motorcycle, while the aerodynamic winglets can generate additional downforce at higher speeds. Think about what that means. When you're accelerating, you want the motorcycle stable. When you're braking from high speed, you want the front end predictable. When you're changing direction, you want the bike to remain planted. And this is the part most people miss. Honda isn't simply asking, how do we make this motorcycle faster? They're asking, how do we make it behave when it's already moving extremely fast? That's a much harder engineering problem. Anyone can build a powerful engine. Building an entire motorcycle that can actually use that power is much more complicated. But there's a catch. This motorcycle isn't designed for everyone. If your priority is comfort, easy commuting, low running costs, or relaxed highway riding, there are better choices. The riding position is aggressive. The engine is built around performance. The suspension is serious. The brakes are serious. And after a long ride, your body may remind you that Honda didn't build this motorcycle as a touring machine. But that's not necessarily a weakness. It's a trade-off. You don't buy a Fireblade SP because you need basic transportation. You buy it because you want the experience. You want the engine response. You want the precision. You want the feeling of sitting on a machine engineered around performance. And that's where the Fireblade becomes difficult to ignore. Because while everyone is talking about Ducati and BMW, Honda has built something that doesn't need to copy either one. Honda took decades of racing experience and asked a simple question. How do we make a street-legal motorcycle feel as close to a race machine as possible? And there is another reason the Fireblade stands out. Honda didn't chase performance by making the motorcycle complicated just for the sake of it. Each system has to support the rider. That creates a bike that feels deliberate rather than chaotic. At speed, that matters. Confidence comes from knowing what the motorcycle is going to do next, especially when braking late, changing direction, or opening the throttle on corner exit. That's why the Fireblade SP deserves more attention. The engine creates the speed, the chassis manages it, the brakes control it, the suspension keeps the motorcycle composed, the electronics help manage the power, and the aerodynamics become more important as the speed increases. Everything has a purpose. And that's what separates a serious superbike from a motorcycle that simply has a large engine. The Fireblade SP is designed around answering those questions. That's the real story. There's also something very Honda about the way this motorcycle approaches performance. It doesn't need to be the loudest bike in the room. The engineering speaks for itself. MotoGP influenced engine technology, electronic suspension, Brembo braking hardware, aerodynamic development, advanced rider aids, a lightweight aluminum chassis, a high-revving inline-four. This isn't an ordinary sport bike. This is the part most people miss. Honda has built a motorcycle designed around controlling extreme performance. That's why a motorcycle like this makes more sense on a controlled racetrack, where the rider can safely explore its capabilities and understand what the chassis, brakes, suspension, and electronics are actually doing. The Fireblade SP isn't trying to be the easiest motorcycle in the world. It's trying to be a seriously capable one. And when everything comes together, you begin to understand what Honda was chasing. The engine creates the speed. The chassis manages it, the brakes control it, the suspension keeps the motorcycle composed, the electronics help manage the power, the aerodynamics help keep everything stable. The rider sits directly in the middle of all of it. That's the Fireblade SP. Not just a fast Honda, not just another 1,000 cubic centimeter motorcycle, a street-legal machine carrying decades of racing experience into the real world. And maybe that's why this Honda is way more insane than you think, because the biggest surprise isn't simply how fast it can go. It's how much engineering Honda had to put into the motorcycle just to make that speed usable. So now I want to know what you think. Would you take the Honda CBR1000RR-R Fireblade SP over the Ducati Panigale V4 or BMW M 1000RR? Tell me your choice in the comments and tell me why. And if you want honest superbike reviews, real-world breakdowns, and comparisons without the usual fluff, subscribe to MotoVision Bikes.